Alright, it is a Friday, October the 29th, 9:27 a.m. and this is the main watch list, although a few things can change. I'm watching this freaking sketchy looking listed stock here, but I'm pretty much late if I were to have been interested in a morning panic bounce play, but it looks like it's not something out of the ordinary. It tends to have these dips and maybe it'll try to come back. I don't know if it'll come back all the way, or maybe this is actually it, but the daily chart is just very interesting. I'm just going to watch this one. I'm not necessarily going to trade it unless it does something that I feel like I'm comfortable with, or maybe I'll just trade a very small size. DWAC ideally can do a continuation in actual green day, although who knows, maybe too many people bought the share on its initial run up and it's going to be hard for it to make any moves. WSRC is going to be a watch. Maybe it can continue an uptrend, which would be nice. Ideally, it's just more than just a one-day move. BTZI could be a reversal at any point, but I might just remove this one because the volume isn't really there. ILUS, I'm probably going to remove this one, but it could be in theory like a swing short setup. INND, ideally this one can run for a few more days, and then that would make it really nice to buy it, like a morning panic bounce play kind of setup. We don't have that yet, but hopefully it can try to do something like that. And this one I added AABB. I don't really like trading some of these when they try to come back because they don't necessarily last that well, but this one is having decent volume, at least this first run up day, so maybe in theory this thing can do something off of VWAP and be something considerable. That's all I have for right now, and I am going to focus on morning panic bounce plays. Alright, it is 9:40, a quick update. I think this was the only one that I saw that was doing a morning panic bounce play, and this one actually did turn around. I was interested in getting a buy at 173. I wasn't sure if it would be executed or not, but this is a stock that you can't trade on Charles Schwab, because whenever they made their list of stocks that you can trade and not trade on Schwab, this one did not have their filings up to date, and now it's up to the broker to get their list of OTCs that are tradable up to date for me to consider trading this one in the future. But it's doing a nice move. It did have a little sketchy low volume tick here at 175, but it did get above VWAP, and I guess 17 to 18, that is I guess 5% right now. It can continue to do more, but it doesn't have the best daily chart. But I did like how it cracked this level right here at 196, so I kind of made it more significant than just a regular random panic on some random OTC that is in just a random part of the pattern. So that was interesting there. Just no morning panic bounce plays, at least right now. Maybe there can be one later. As for this weird one, it is trying to make a move towards the upside. That's one thing I don't like about listed stocks, but that was interesting. I wasn't interested in really shorting it, but it did downtrend. It's still trying to move, but it's kind of hard to do technical analysis on something that gets halted like this. For INND and AABB, both of these had like a dip towards VWAP right here, and it held, although it had a little bit of a sketchy wick first. This one also held too with a wick below it. PHIL, I saw it yesterday. This one did the same thing, holding VWAP. Ideally, these things can do a spike really far from VWAP and then come back down and maybe play off VWAP again, and then I'll be totally interested in trading it then. That's what I have for right now. I'll probably remove HUDI. It's just interesting to watch, but that's what I'm interested in for the moment in terms of these OTCs that seem to be running. Alright, it is 9:54. I got in and out of a trade. I was in it yeah, not for very long. I was in at 950 at 131. I really wanted this thing to spike more and then come back to VWAP and do something nice, but it was holding 13 so strongly here. All these candles, it was just holding 13 so well. There was always a big wall of people at 13, if not 1301, and the ask was really trying to bully it, but it was no match for the bid at 13, and it really held together. So for that reason, I took a entry at 950, which was, I traded a small size, by the way, because it wasn't really ideal. I was buying at what could have been the highs, right? And it could have just failed and broken VWAP, so I was in just a tiny size really. Again, right here at 950 at 131. So I did hit the ask 131 right here. And I held for a few minutes. It was looking pretty sketchy, very scary at times. It looked like it was gonna, just break 13, but it just held so strongly. Eventually, I did sell at 954. I did try, as you can see there, a few times to sell right when it was trading back and forth, but I did put a sell eventually at 954, which was this candle right before it actually did the whole move. So I sold at 1324 right when it was right at its highs. Right, it did get as high as 13.5 too. At least right now, this thing can't continue to go. It almost reminds me of a listed stock, the price action, when it's just some short sellers are getting squeezed and they're just smashing the ask, and it's just like really going up because people are just getting out of their positions because they're being liquidated. Just something like that. It just reminded me of that. In theory, now this thing is downtrending. Maybe it can hopefully make like a higher low at some point, higher than this right here at 13, and then it can continue to keep going. That would be kind of cool. If this thing can run for more than 3 days, hey, this thing could be a potential morning panic bounce play. That's really interesting. As for the other ones, I haven't been looking at them. It looks like this one did fail. It broke under VWAP. Although, I mean, does that mean it warrants a dip buy? No, not really. I mean, you could say, hey, this is going to be a higher low off of here, but I think I don't want to base it off of the open price. I think that's a little too much. PHIL, this one actually is under VWAP too. This one didn't really spike. It wasn't showing the nice consistency that this one was having here with AABB. Unfortunately, I did trade a tiny size, so what? I made like $1 or something. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that was good experience, if anything. After feeling like I've been wrong like so many times in the beginning of this week, I think this is a step in the right direction. Just trying like super small, just in theory, being in the trade and practicing. But yeah, in theory, this one can again make that higher low, hopefully above this 13 level. Ideally, no double bottoms or anything like that, and this one can continue to run. I saw it pretty early, but yeah, let's see what this one does. I'll make an update later. Right, it is 10:28. As a quick update for AABB, I was actually interested in shorting it, and it could downtrend, but when you kind of really think of it, it can turn around because a lot of these OTCs that ran a long time ago, they have a little run up like here, and then it fades back down. But this one really got to its lows, like really the lowest it's ever been in months. If anything, there can be a lot of room for the upside, and I just lost confidence in considering a short setup. This will be a head and shoulder, shoulder, head and shoulder. I'm sure here risk level is 1381, but it might actually just try to do it now. I could be totally wrong at it tomorrow, or maybe not tomorrow, but Monday is at freaking 11 or something. But I also don't like how it's an uptrending head and shoulders if it is going to work out. We have these higher lows is floating off of VWAP. It could totally do something crazy. But as for my trade, my long setup, my sell was at 954 right when it was trying to break out here. It did get as high as what is this, 13.7, and it did put up a higher low eventually here, which unfortunately was a bit close to 13, but it was still higher. And that's when it made another move towards the upside. So this one offered plenty of opportunity. I didn't necessarily take any large portion of it, but I think I was right on the setup, and that's really what I'm going to work towards. I'm going to continue watching this to see what it does and make an update later. PHIL lost my interest. INND lost my interest too. Although I guess it did do like an actual bounce after a drop, right? But yeah, I'm not necessarily interested in those two anymore. And this weird one, it stopped halting, but I don't know. It's just interesting price action. It did do a bounce right from this level here. If you want to count the halts, 26, and now it's at 16. Yeah, 16. Breaking under 16. I wonder if this thing's gonna work out or not. I also don't like it when it kind of trades like that. So yeah, I'll make an update later on AABB. Alright, it is 11:49 a.m. and I want to make an update. Yeah, it was a good thing that I never went short. AABB, thinking about all of the potential it has to do with spike. Why short is stock right at its freaking lows? Sure, it had a little baby uptrend, but you know, right after it broke this 1 cent level and became a sub penny, and then it's trying to come back. Why would you short it, especially something that's putting up higher lows like it was here? Even if it was a head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, you know, this sketchy price action, it broke through. I never went long this setup, but you know, maybe in the future I can be able to do something like that. The main reason why is that I just wanted it to trade off of VWAP, and this one just is just floating above it. I was interested in shorting it when it started to show red here at 17.4, but I didn't get short because I didn't have really the time to be short. I kind of was just checking up on the market, and when I saw it, it was already showing some red candles, and I thought a nice short at 17.4 would have been nice with a, you know, a freaking risk level at 17.9. So that's a small risk, and I would have shorted 1,000 shares, and I totally would have covered in the 16s. I wouldn't still be holding this here. This is not what I would do. This could be the head of an inverse head and shoulders, maybe the shoulder here, and then it's going to make the head, but I'm going to be pretty cautious with this one, because sometimes when they start fading, like falling off a cliff, sometimes they just lose the momentum entirely, and they just can't move anymore towards the upside, and they just fade away. So I'll be watching AABB. It is 11 a.m., almost 12, so not necessarily the best time. If it looks super clean, maybe an inverse head and shoulders, I might consider it, but probably not. This thing was kind of overdone the way it just floated off of VWAP here, but that's pretty cool. PHIL, I have no interest in it. INND, zero interest in it. No candidate for the 11 a.m. reversal because you know, it was only up 2 days, so it's not really that nice. This one was more like a HUDI did an inverse head and shoulders around that 11 time period, but this one is a bit sketchy because it's like a listed pump, and you know, that just seems scary to buy into. But it did make a move from 15.50 to 17.21, which was the highest in plenty of time, to sell into 16. So that's what I have for right now. I'll keep watching AABB, but I'm not gonna, you know, push myself into trading it. I don't have to, and I'm pretty happy with my freaking buyback here, right at 9.50. Yep, 9.50. Way back here was my entry, and this little thing when it was holding VWAP before it started to float off of it. I was definitely on the right track. If I keep seeing that I'm on the right track, there's no reason why I shouldn't push myself and try trading a larger size, and maybe selling pieces, not all in and all out, so I can try to hold better. Alright, it is 7:01 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. I made a puny $1.31, but I was, I think, totally right on the setup here with AABB, a potential reversal after, you know, a long time that it hasn't really done anything, and the volume was definitely there. I noted that yesterday. I think I need to just, you know, realize all of this that I'm nailing actually right in terms of the setup, but I need to trade larger and I need to hold better. So I need to perhaps again trade a larger size and sell in pieces instead of all of it at once, so then I can trade something that is super large in terms of a size, and then again be able to hold it longer knowing that I won't be all in and all out. I like morning panic bounce play setups a lot, and those are usually really quick, and unfortunately I think I have a habit of applying that really quick trading on something like this where it needs more time to build up. Now I'm not saying, oh yeah, I would have sold here, no, but you know, this thing was constantly putting up higher highs. Here was a high, I guess this was a double top, but it was definitely doing higher lows. When would I have sold? I don't know, but you know, it could have been a lot higher than my little sell right here. So next week, with all of this, I need to also not take a setup, you know, personally if it doesn't work out. SIRC didn't work out this week. That was a morning panic bounce play, and that made me miss HMBL and really just hesitate. You know, some of them are just not going to work. So I need to put in a lot more effort, just again trading larger and holding on to certain trades better. Morning panic bounce plays, I don't mind selling those pretty quickly because they tend to be very fast patterns. And yeah, AABB did kind of fade off at the end, but this thing offered a great setup that I took there when it was holding VWAP, and 13 was very strong. It kept putting up higher lows, and then I was also interested in shorting it, but I was a bit too slow for here. I wanted to really have covered all the way down here or something crazy like that, but 16 would have been pretty nice. And yeah, this was a great mover. HUDI is a weird listed stock. I didn't necessarily want to trade it, but it did do a nice move. Definitely a very choppy number 5 setup that is common with OTCs. INND looks like nothing here that I would have been interested in. I would have liked it if it ran more. This one I just was looking at because people mentioned it in the chat. It did offer opportunities like this inverse head and shoulder, shoulder and head, shoulder here, but it is a bit choppy, and it still offered some kind of movement, and it is a lower priced listed stock too. Nothing here with PHIL. It didn't look that nice later on in the day. And yeah, I'm going to call it off. Just a tiny game, but I think I learned a lot, and there's a lot of things I can keep doing to improve on, and I think that's the name of the game. That's all I have for today. I'm glad, if anything, I definitely did today a lot better than last Friday, that's for sure. But still, I have a lot of things I need to get better at.